What would you do if the life you thought you knew was shattered in an instant? This question echoed in Mia's mind as she wiped down the counter of the small cafe where she worked. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow through the large windows, and the bustling city outside began to slow down. Mia, with her vibrant red hair cascading over her shoulders, had always found solace in the familiar routine of her job. Each day brought the comforting scent of freshly brewed coffee and the chatter of regular customers. It was the kind of life she had built for herself, one that felt safe and predictable. Before the story unfolds, thank you for being here. These romances are still growing, just like this space. If you feel connected to this story, please like and subscribe. Your support truly makes a difference. Now, let me tell you the story. But tonight was no ordinary night. As she prepared to close, the bell above the door jingled, and in walked Luca, the enigmatic figure who had haunted her thoughts since she first laid eyes on him a few weeks prior. He was a striking man, tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair slicked back and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see straight through her. The moment their gazes locked, an electric tension filled the air, making the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. There was something about him that was both alluring and terrifying, an intoxicating mix of danger and charm. Mia felt her heart race as she tried to maintain her composure. Luca was known around the city, whispered about in hushed tones in cafes like hers. It was said that he was a powerful Mafia boss, and while she had tried to dismiss those rumors, the way he carried himself spoke volumes. There was an undeniable air of authority around him, a presence that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. As he approached the counter, every instinct in Mia's body urged her to step back, to retreat into the safety of her mundane life. "Do you have a moment?" he asked, his voice smooth and deep, sending shivers down Mia's spine. She nodded, unable to muster the words to respond. "I need to discuss something important." Mia swallowed hard, her mind racing with thoughts of what this could possibly entail. Was he here to threaten her? To pull her into a world she had no desire to be a part of? Yet, despite the fear that crept into her heart, there was an undeniable curiosity about him. The way he stood, the confidence he exuded, was magnetic. It drew her in, making her want to know more about the man behind the rumors. "I'm closing up," she managed to say, attempting to sound more assertive than she felt. Luca's eyes narrowed slightly, and for a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of amusement in his expression. "I really don't have time right now." "Just a few minutes," he insisted, stepping closer, effectively blocking her path to the door. The cafe suddenly felt smaller, the space between them charged with an intensity that was hard to ignore. Mia's breath caught in her throat as she realized she was cornered, both physically and emotionally. The world outside faded away, and all that remained was the two of them, locked in a moment that felt like it could change everything. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as she considered her options. She could push past him, escape into the cool night air and leave this strange encounter behind. Or she could stay, face the unknown, and see what Luca had to say. The allure of the latter was almost irresistible. She had always been drawn to adventure, to the thrill of breaking free from the ordinary, and Luca seemed to personify that desire. "What do you want?" she finally asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Luca smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that sent a rush of heat through her. It was unsettling yet captivating, and Mia found herself leaning slightly closer, despite her better judgment. "I want to know more about you, Mia," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "You're different from the others. I can see it in your eyes. You have a fire that not many possess." His words hung in the air, igniting a mixture of indignation and intrigue within her. How could he possibly know anything about her? She was just a barista, a common girl living a simple life. Yet, the way he spoke made her feel like she was more than that, like she mattered in a world filled with chaos and power struggles. "I don't think you understand," Mia said, her tone firmer now. "I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. I have my life, my goals, and I don't want to get tangled up in your world." Luca's expression shifted slightly, the amusement fading as a more serious tone took its place. You don't know what my world is like, Mia. And trust me, I'm not looking to drag you into anything you don't want. But there are things happening that you should be aware of. Things that could affect you. The tension between them thickened, and Mia felt a chill run down her spine. What could he possibly mean? Just then, the reality of her situation hit her. She was standing in a dimly lit cafe, trapped with a man who was rumored to be part of the Italian Mafia. The stakes were higher than she had ever imagined, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of fear mixed with curiosity. What lay beyond this moment? What would happen if she chose to stay? As she stared into his intense blue eyes, Mia realized that her ordinary life was about to change in ways she could never have anticipated. The door to her future loomed before her, and Luca stood in her way, a tangible embodiment of the choices she would soon face. Would she take the plunge into the unknown or retreat back to the safety of her predictable existence? The answer was just beginning to unfold. Mia felt her heart race as she stood in the dim light of the cafe, the tension in the air thick enough to cut with a knife. Luca's intense gaze held her captive, and she could barely manage a coherent thought. He had just stepped out of the shadows, a figure of mystery and danger, and she found herself inexplicably drawn to him. The cafe, usually filled with the comforting aroma of coffee and pastries, now felt foreign and charged, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for what would unfold next. Do you have a moment? Luca's voice was smooth and deep, sending a shiver down her spine. She nodded, unable to respond verbally, her throat suddenly dry. He took a step closer, and she felt her pulse quicken. The way he filled the doorway made her feel both intimidated and strangely safe at the same time. I need to discuss something important. Mia swallowed hard, her mind racing with possibilities. What could this powerful man want from her, of all people? Her life had always been simple, focused on her work and her dreams of opening her own art studio one day. But standing in front of Luca, she felt a mixture of fear and an inexplicable curiosity. Why was she so captivated by him? She tried to remind herself that he was rumored to be involved with the Italian Mafia, a world she had no desire to step into. I'm closing up, she managed to say, her voice coming out firmer than she felt. I really don't have time right now. Luca's eyes narrowed slightly, and for a moment, she thought she saw a hint of amusement in his expression. Just a few minutes, he insisted, stepping further into the cafe, effectively blocking her path to the door. The space felt smaller, the air heavier as he moved closer, and her heart pounded in her chest. She was cornered, both physically and emotionally, and the world outside faded away. All that remained was the two of them, locked in a moment that felt electric. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Mia's mind raced as she weighed her options. She could push past him, flee into the night, and leave this bizarre encounter behind. But something inside her hesitated. The allure of the unknown, the thrill of stepping outside her comfort zone, was almost irresistible. She had always craved adventure, and Luca seemed to embody that desire. What do you want? She finally asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Luca smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that sent a rush of warmth through her. It was unsettling yet captivating, and she found herself leaning slightly closer, despite her better judgment. I want to know more about you, Mia, he replied, his gaze unwavering. You're different from the others. I can see it in your eyes. You have a fire that not many possess. His words hung in the air, igniting a mix of indignation and intrigue within her. How could he possibly know anything about her? She was just a barista, a common girl living a simple life. Yet, the way he spoke made her feel like she mattered in a world filled with chaos and power struggles. I don't think you understand, Mia said, her tone firmer now. I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. I have my life, my goals, and I don't want to get tangled up in your world. Luca's expression shifted, the amusement fading as a more serious tone took its place. You don't know what my world is like, Mia. And trust me, I'm not looking to drag you into anything you don't want. But there are things happening that you should be aware of. Things that could affect you. The tension between them thickened, and Mia felt a chill run down her spine. What could he possibly mean? Just then, the reality of her situation hit her. She was standing in a dimly lit cafe, trapped with a man who was rumored to be part of the Italian Mafia. The stakes were higher than she had ever imagined, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of fear mixed with curiosity. What lay beyond this moment? What would happen if she chose to stay? As she stared into his intense blue eyes, Mia realized that her ordinary life was about to change in ways she could never have anticipated. The door to her future loomed before her, and Luca stood in her way, a tangible embodiment of the choices she would soon face. Would she take the plunge into the unknown or retreat back to the safety of her predictable existence? The answer was just beginning to unfold, and with every second that passed, she felt herself leaning toward the possibility of a life that could be extraordinary, even if it meant stepping into the shadows of danger. The cafe's clock ticked away the seconds, each one echoing in the silence that enveloped them. Mia's heart raced as she fought to make sense of the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Luca was unlike anyone she had ever met. There was a depth to him, a complexity that intrigued her. But could she trust him? The thought sent a shiver through her, and she felt the weight of his gaze pressing down on her, urging her to confront her fears. "What if I don't want to be involved in your world?" she challenged, her voice barely above a whisper but filled with determination. "Then you won't be," Luca said, his tone softening. "But I hope you'll at least hear me out. I promise it's not what you think. I just need you to understand." Mia considered his words, weighing the risks against the undeniable pull she felt toward him. There was something about him that made her want to know more, to dive deeper into the mystery that surrounded him. But was she ready to take that leap? The choice lay before her like a fork in the road, and the direction she chose could alter the course of her life forever. As the moment stretched on, she finally nodded, signaling her willingness to listen, her mind racing with anticipation and fear. What would Luca reveal? What truths lay hidden beneath the surface of his captivating exterior? With her decision made, Mia felt a rush of adrenaline, a mix of excitement and dread, as she prepared to step into a world that could change everything she thought she knew. As Mia stood there, caught in the magnetic pull of Luca's gaze, the world outside seemed to fade away. It was as if they were the only two people in existence, and the weight of the moment pressed down on her chest. The air was thick with unspoken words, a tantalizing mix of fear and excitement swirling around them. She could feel her heart racing, each beat echoing in her ears as she tried to gather her thoughts. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice steady but laced with a hint of trepidation. Luca's lips curved into a slow smile, one that both intrigued and unnerved her. It was a smile that promised secrets, adventures, and possibly danger. "I want to know more about you, Mia," he said, his tone smooth as silk, but there was an underlying intensity that made her shiver. "You're not like the others. I see something in you, a spark that draws me in." Mia felt a flush rise to her cheeks. She was just a waitress, a simple girl with dreams of a bigger life, not someone who should be on the radar of a man like Luca. "You don't know me," she replied, trying to reclaim some of her composure. "I'm just an ordinary person. I have my own life, my own goals." "Ordinary?" Luca chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Trust me, in my world, ordinary doesn't exist. There are no simple lives when power and danger intertwine. You, Mia, have something that makes you stand out, and I can't help but be curious." The way he spoke set her on edge. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. The stories she had heard about him, the ruthless mafia boss who commanded respect and fear, rushed back to her mind. But beneath that exterior, there was a flicker of vulnerability that she sensed, a glimpse of the man hidden behind the powerful facade. "What do you mean by my world?" she pressed, needing to understand the depths of the situation she found herself in. Luca took a step closer, his presence overwhelming. "I'm not here to drag you into anything, Mia. I don't want to put you in danger. But the truth is, there are forces at play that could impact your life, whether you like it or not." A shiver ran down her spine at his words. She had always thought of herself as strong and independent, but now she felt like a leaf caught in a storm. What could possibly affect her life? She had always lived within her own parameters, but Luca's enigmatic presence opened a door to a world she had only glimpsed from a distance. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would shatter the delicate balance between them. "Let's just say I have enemies, and being close to me comes with risks," he replied, his tone turning serious. "But I believe there's more to you than meets the eye, and I want to uncover that." Mia's heart raced, a mix of fear and intrigue flooding her senses. She had never been one to seek out danger, yet here she was, staring into the abyss of a life that could be entirely different from her own. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, exciting her in a way that was both thrilling and frightening. As she stood there, contemplating her next move, she sensed the undeniable chemistry between them growing stronger. The air crackled with tension, and she felt an inexplicable urge to step closer, to explore the depths of this connection. But she was also painfully aware of the risks involved. "I don't know if I can trust you, Luca," she finally admitted, her voice shaky but resolute. "You're a stranger to me, and I don't want to get involved in your world." "Trust takes time, and I can understand your hesitation," he said, his expression softening. "But I promise you, I'm not the monster you think I am. There's so much more to me than what the world sees." His words hung in the air as Mia wrestled with her emotions. The longer she stood there, the more she felt drawn to him, yet the fear of the unknown loomed large. She couldn't ignore the danger that surrounded him, but there was something compelling about the way he spoke, a sincerity that belied his reputation. "What if I don't want anything to do with your life?" she challenged, trying to regain some control over the conversation. "Then you won't have to," Luca replied, his voice steady and reassuring. "But I hope you'll at least give me a chance to show you the truth. I need you to understand that my world is not just chaos, it's also filled with moments that matter." Mia's curiosity piqued despite her better judgment. She found herself wanting to know more about him, to peel back the layers of the man standing before her. What were the moments that mattered to him? What had shaped him into the person he was today? "All right, I'll listen," she said, surprising herself with her own words. "But you have to promise not to pull me into anything dangerous." A flicker of relief crossed Luca's face, quickly replaced by a more serious expression. "I promise, Mia. Just let me explain." As they stood there, the tension between them shifted, transforming into something more profound. In that moment, Mia realized that her life was on the brink of transformation, and the choice she made now would dictate the path she would take. Would she step into the unknown, embracing the adventure that awaited her, or retreat back into her predictable life? Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. As she took a deep breath, ready to hear what Luca had to say, her heart raced with a mix of anticipation and fear. The door to her future was wide open, and she was ready to take the plunge. The atmosphere shifted dramatically as the door to the cafe swung open, and a chill swept through the room. Luca's commanding presence filled the space, casting a shadow over Mia's thoughts. The moment felt surreal. She had been navigating the complexities of her life, and now, everything had spiraled into a whirlpool of uncertainty. Just hours earlier, she had been closing up for the night, content in her routine, but now she was standing face to face with danger and intrigue. "Let's go," he said, his voice low and commanding, leaving no room for debate. His eyes locked onto hers, revealing a fierce determination that sent shivers down her spine. She could sense the weight of his world pressing against her, and despite her better judgment, she felt herself drawn to him. "What do you mean, let's go?" she challenged, her heart racing. "I'm not going anywhere with you." Luca stepped closer, invading her personal space with an intensity that was both thrilling and terrifying. "You don't understand, Mia. There are things happening that you need to be aware of. You're in danger simply by being here." The urgency in his voice startled her, and for a moment, she felt the gravity of his words. "Danger? From what?" she asked, trying to maintain her composure. The cafe, once a safe haven, now felt like a trap. "From my enemies," he replied, his gaze unwavering. They wouldn't think twice about coming after someone close to me. Mia's breath caught in her throat. I'm not close to you, she insisted, although a part of her was beginning to wonder if that was true. The more time she spent with Luca, the more she felt an inexplicable connection to him, despite his dark past. Not yet, he said, frustration etching his features. But you will be if you don't let me help you. Before she could respond, Luca reached out, gently grasping her arm. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through her, and she had to resist the urge to lean into him. Please, Mia. Trust me for a moment. I need to show you what's at stake. As he led her out of the cafe and into the night, Mia felt a whirlwind of emotions. She wrestled with her instincts, the rational part of her screamed to escape, yet the part that craved adventure urged her to stay. The streets were alive with the sounds of the city, but they felt eerily silent as they walked side by side, a tension building between them. Where are we going? She asked, glancing up at him. His jaw was set, a mixture of determination and something softer lurking behind his eyes. To a place where you'll be safe, he replied, his voice steady. I promise I won't let anything happen to you. His words held a weight that resonated with her, and for the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility that he might actually protect her. They walked in silence for a few moments, her mind racing with questions, but the pull she felt toward him was undeniable. I don't know anything about you, Mia finally said, breaking the silence. Why should I trust you? Luca stopped and turned to face her, his expression serious. Because I care, Mia. I know you think I'm just a monster, but there's more to me than that. I'm not proud of my past, but I've built my life to protect those I care about. His honesty caught her off guard. She had expected bravado, but instead, Luca seemed vulnerable in that moment. You have a strange way of showing it, she replied, crossing her arms defensively. I know, he said, the tension rising again. But sometimes the world doesn't allow for gentleness. Sometimes it's about survival. As his words hung in the air, Mia realized she was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. She had never been one to take risks, but this man was changing everything she thought she knew about herself. The excitement of the unknown was intoxicating, yet the danger was palpable. Okay, she said, her voice barely audible. I'll listen. But you have to promise not to pull me into anything dangerous. Luca's lips curled slightly, a glimmer of hope flickering in his eyes. I promise. Just give me a chance to explain. The tension between them shifted, a fragile connection forming in the chaos. They continued walking, and Mia felt the weight of his gaze on her, a silent promise of protection and understanding. As they approached a sleek black car parked under the dim streetlight, she couldn't help but feel a mix of fear and exhilaration. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Mia glanced at Luca, who opened the passenger door for her. The sincerity in his eyes reassured her, and she took a deep breath before stepping into the vehicle. The atmosphere inside felt different, charged with potential and danger. As they drove through the city streets, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change forever. She had stepped into a world she never knew existed, and there was no turning back. With each mile they traveled, the pull between her and Luca grew stronger, intertwining their fates in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. What happened that night changed my destiny forever, she thought, realizing that she was standing on the precipice of something extraordinary. The choices she made now would define her future, and despite the uncertainty, she found herself wanting to embrace the adventure that lay ahead. As the tension reached its peak, Mia felt her heart racing. The dark alley they found themselves in was dimly lit, the shadows creeping around them as Luca stood his ground, his back straight and his eyes narrowed, scanning the surroundings. Something was brewing in the air, a sense of impending confrontation that made Mia's skin prickle with anxiety. She had never been in a situation like this, and yet, somehow, she felt alive. What's going on, Luca? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Why did you bring me here? He turned to her, his expression fierce yet vulnerable. I didn't want to put you in danger, but I had no choice. They know about you, Mia. They know I care. Mia's breath caught in her throat. Who knows? What are you talking about? Other families. They're watching me, waiting for a moment of weakness. His voice lowered, filled with urgency. And if they think they can use you against me, they will. Mia took a step back, grappling with the weight of his words. The thrill of the unknown had turned into a chilling reality. But I'm just a waitress. I'm not part of this world. Luca stepped closer, his eyes locking onto hers with a ferocity that made her heart race. You're more than that to me. And I'll do whatever it takes to keep you safe. As he spoke, Mia couldn't help but feel the intensity of his emotions. There was something raw and real about the way he looked at her, as if he was laying bare his soul. She felt drawn to him, yet terrified at the same time. What if this is too dangerous, Luca? What if you can't protect me? His gaze softened slightly, and for a moment, the fierce Mafia boss seemed like just a man, vulnerable and yearning for connection. I'll do everything in my power to shield you from harm. But you have to trust me. Mia's mind raced. Trust was a tricky thing, especially with someone as enigmatic as Luca. Yet, she couldn't deny the connection that had been building between them, the way he made her feel alive in a world that had felt so mundane just days ago. Okay, she breathed, I'll trust you. But you have to promise to let me in. I can't be just a pawn in your game. Luca's jaw tightened, and he nodded, a flicker of relief crossing his features. I promise. Just stay close to me. Suddenly, the calm of the moment shattered as a group of men emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured by hooded jackets. Mia's heart raced anew, panic flooding her veins. She instinctively moved closer to Luca, who positioned himself protectively in front of her, his stance radiating power and authority. Luca, one of the men sneered, stepping forward, a confident smirk playing on his lips. Still playing the hero, I see. You should know it's not your charming looks that keep you safe. Luca's expression darkened, a cold fury bubbling just beneath the surface. You're making a mistake, Marco. You think you can threaten what's mine? Mia's breath hitched at the possessive tone in Luca's voice. It sent shivers down her spine, but also ignited something deep within her, an exhilarating mix of fear and excitement. Your little redhead here? Marco laughed, glancing at Mia with a predatory gaze that made her skin crawl. She's just a liability, Luca. You should know better than to let someone like her into your life. Luca stepped forward, a fierce protectiveness radiating from him. You don't know anything about her. I won't let you use her against me. The tension between them escalated as the men closed in. Mia could feel the weight of the moment, a storm was brewing, and she was caught in the eye of it. She had never seen this side of Luca before, he was a lion defending his territory, and she found herself entranced by his determination. Whatever you think of me, I'm not afraid, Mia said, surprising even herself. She stepped out from behind Luca, facing Marco with newfound courage. I may not be part of your world, but I won't let you bully me or him. Luca shot her a surprised look, a hint of admiration flickering in his eyes. Mia, stay back. No, she interrupted, her heart pounding. I won't hide anymore. If I'm in this, I'm all in. The men exchanged incredulous glances, momentarily taken aback by Mia's defiance. Luca's gaze softened, filled with something deeper than admiration, there was pride. Then let's settle this, Luca said, his voice steady and commanding. You want to threaten her? You'll have to go through me first. Mia's heart raced as she stood beside him, a fierce loyalty ignited within her. She had never felt so alive, so connected to another person. In that moment, a bond formed between them, forged in the fires of danger and defiance. Are you really ready for this? Luca asked, his voice low, his eyes searching hers for any sign of hesitation. Yes, she replied, her voice firm. I'm ready. With those words, they faced the group together, united in their determination. The confrontation that followed was both terrifying and exhilarating. Luca fought with all the strength of a man protecting what was his, while Mia found herself realizing she was no longer just a bystander. In the chaos, she witnessed Luca's strength and vulnerability, and it changed everything. They were not just two worlds colliding, they were two souls intertwined in a fight for survival and connection. As the dust settled and the last of the threats faded into the night, Mia realized that what had begun as an ordinary life had transformed into an extraordinary adventure. What happened that night changed my destiny forever, she thought, knowing that the bond they had forged was only the beginning. And just like that, Mia knew she had taken a leap into a new life, one filled with danger, romance, and a connection that felt fated. Mia and Luca stood amidst the remnants of chaos, their hearts racing from the adrenaline of the confrontation. The air felt charged, crackling with the electricity of unspoken emotions and the intensity of their shared experience. They had faced danger together, and in doing so, they had forged an unbreakable bond. The world around them faded into the background as they took a moment to catch their breath, and the gravity of their situation began to sink in. As the adrenaline waned, Mia turned to Luca, her eyes searching his face for answers. "What now?" she asked, her voice steady, yet tinged with uncertainty. She had stepped beyond the boundaries of her old life, and now, she needed to understand what this meant for them both. Luca hesitated for a moment, his expression unreadable. "Now," he said slowly, "we regroup. I need to ensure you're safe. You've seen too much." His voice was low, filled with a protective urgency that sent shivers down her spine. Mia's heart swelled with emotion at his words. She had fought beside him, and now he was taking charge, but she also felt the weight of the danger that loomed ahead. "I'm not afraid, Luca. I can handle this," she replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. He looked at her, a mixture of admiration and concern flickering in his eyes. "Mia, this isn't just a game. There are real risks involved," he said, his tone firm yet softened by a hint of vulnerability. "Neither of us chose this life, but we're in it together now," she insisted, stepping closer to him, feeling the warmth radiating from his body. "If I'm going to be a part of it, I deserve to know what I'm up against." For a moment, it felt like the world around them vanished, leaving just the two of them in a bubble of intimacy. Luca studied her, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. He was weighing the risks, evaluating how much he should reveal. Finally, he sighed, his shoulders dropping slightly. "All right, but promise me you'll stay back if things get too dangerous." "I promise," she said, her resolve strengthening. "Just tell me what I need to know." He nodded, taking a deep breath as he began to explain the intricacies of the Mafia world he inhabited. "It's not just about power and money. It's about loyalty, respect, and the constant threat of betrayal. There are factions that are always at odds, and right now, we're caught in the middle of a power struggle." Mia listened intently as he laid it all out. The dangers were real, and the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. "What about Marco?" she asked, the name tasting bitter on her tongue. "What does he want?" "Marco is ambitious and ruthless. He wants control and will stop at nothing to get it," Luca replied, his voice low, filled with a sense of foreboding. "And he sees you as a vulnerability." Mia's stomach twisted at the thought. "So, he might come after me again?" "Only if he thinks it will hurt me," Luca admitted, his expression darkening. "That's why we need to be vigilant. I won't let anything happen to you." His fierce protectiveness made Mia's heart race. "I can take care of myself, you know," she said, a mixture of pride and defiance in her voice. Luca smirked, a glimmer of affection shining through his otherwise serious demeanor. "I know, but it's not just about that. It's about keeping you out of harm's way." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation settling between them. Mia felt a surge of emotions, a mix of fear and exhilaration. She had stepped into his world, a realm filled with shadows and dangers, but she was not willing to back down. "I want to help," she declared, her voice steady. "If I'm going to be a part of this, then I need to be involved. I want to understand how things work." Luca regarded her for a long moment, a flicker of admiration mixing with a hint of disbelief. "You're extraordinary, you know that? Most people would run from this, but you're standing right here, ready to fight." "I'm not going anywhere," Mia replied fiercely, her green eyes locking onto his. "I care about you, Luca, and I won't let fear control me." His expression softened, and for a brief moment, the weight of the Mafia world seemed to lift. "Then let's figure this out together," he said, extending his hand to her. Mia took his hand, feeling the warmth and strength in his grip. It was a symbolic gesture, a promise that they were in this together. As their fingers intertwined, a new chapter began, one that would test their limits and push them further than they ever thought possible. Don't forget to comment your favorite moment, like this video, and subscribe for more thrilling stories, she said, her voice lightening the tension, knowing that their journey was just beginning. Luca chuckled softly, a rare sound that filled her with warmth. "You're getting the hang of this," he teased, and Mia couldn't help but smile back. With a newfound sense of purpose, they stepped into the unknown together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they walked side by side, Mia realized that, despite the chaos, she had never felt more alive. The bond between them was solidifying, and in that moment, she understood that their connection was not just about survival, it was about love, loyalty, and the promise of a future they would forge together. The road ahead would be fraught with danger, but Mia was ready to embrace it all, with Luca by her side. As Mia and Luca walked side by side, a sense of unity enveloped them, fueling the bond they had forged amidst the chaos of the Mafia world. The night air was thick with unsaid words and lingering tension, yet there was an undeniable warmth radiating between them. They had both transformed through their shared experiences, each finding strength in the other. Mia glanced up at Luca, his expression a mixture of determination and vulnerability. "What happens next?" she asked, her voice steady despite the uncertainty looming in the air. Luca paused, turning to fully face her. "We take back control. We confront Marco and make it clear that we won't back down." His voice was low yet resolute, echoing the deep-seated conviction that had driven him through countless challenges. She nodded, aware of the weight of his words. The stakes were high, but for the first time, she felt a sense of purpose beyond mere survival. "I want to be there with you," she asserted, her emerald eyes shining with resolve. Luca studied her, a flicker of admiration crossing his features. "You're not afraid? Fear is just part of it, isn't it?" "But I can't let it control me," she replied, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and adrenaline. He stepped closer, their faces mere inches apart. "You're extraordinary, Mia. Most people wouldn't dare step into this world." "I'm not most people," she shot back, her tone playful yet fierce. "And I'm not going to let anything happen to you either." Luca's lips curled into a slight smile, an expression that felt rare and precious. In that moment, the darkness surrounding them seemed to lift, revealing the connection they had nurtured through shared trials and tribulations. "Then let's face this together," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Mia felt a surge of courage, her heart swelling with a mixture of affection and determination. "Together," she echoed, feeling the weight of the promise between them. As they prepared to confront Marco, Mia was struck by a realization: their journey had intertwined their fates in a way she had never anticipated. The danger that had once seemed insurmountable now felt like a challenge they could tackle side by side. With newfound confidence, they navigated the streets, each step resonating with purpose. The city around them buzzed with life, oblivious to the storm brewing in the underbelly of its existence. Mia remembered the days spent serving coffee in the cafe, her life a simple routine that had now transformed into something extraordinary. "Do you ever think about what life would have been like if we hadn't met?" she asked, breaking the silence as they approached the dimly lit bar where Marco was rumored to be. Luca shook his head. "Fate has a way of bringing people together for a reason. You're meant to be here." The sentiment hung in the air, a testament to their intertwined destinies. As they entered the bar, the atmosphere shifted. The air was thick with tension, and the murmurs of patrons faded into an eerie silence as Luca and Mia made their way to the back. Marco sat at a secluded table, his demeanor exuding arrogance and menace. When his eyes landed on Luca, a smirk crept across his face. Well, if it isn't the prodigal son returning with his little flame." Mia felt a shiver run down her spine, but she stood tall, refusing to show any signs of fear. Luca's presence beside her was a constant reminder of her strength. This ends tonight, Marco, he said, his voice steady, yet laced with an underlying fury. Oh, I'm afraid it's just beginning, Marco replied, leaning back in his chair, a sinister glint in his eyes. You think you can just waltz in here and threaten me? You're playing a dangerous game. Luca stepped forward, his posture commanding. I'm done playing games. You've underestimated me for the last time. The air crackled with tension as Mia felt the weight of the moment settle around them. She could see the gears turning in Luca's mind, strategizing his next move. It was a dangerous dance, one that required both finesse and raw power. Mia took a deep breath, her heart racing as she felt the intensity of the moment. Luca, we need to be careful, she whispered, wanting to keep him grounded. He glanced at her, his eyes softening for just a moment. Trust me, he said, the warmth of his gaze reassuring her. Trust is a two-way street, she reminded him, her voice steady. Just remember, we're in this together. With renewed resolve, they faced Marco, ready to confront the chaos that loomed. The atmosphere was charged, an electric sense of impending action that made Mia's skin tingle. Let's settle this, Luca declared, his voice booming. You and me, right here, right now. Marco leaned forward, his smile faltering slightly. You think you can take me on alone? You're making a mistake. I'm not alone, Luca replied, his eyes flicking to Mia, who stood unwavering at his side. And you've already lost. As the confrontation escalated, Mia felt her pulse quicken. This was it, the moment where everything could change. The stakes were high, but she was ready to fight for the life they were building together. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she stepped closer to Luca, their hands brushing against each other. The connection sparked, reminding her of the bond they had developed. Don't forget to comment your favorite moment, like this video, and subscribe for more thrilling stories, she called out, her voice cutting through the tension like a beacon of hope. Luca glanced at her, a smirk tugging at the corners of his lips. You really are getting the hang of this. In that moment, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, they stood united, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would face the darkness, their hearts intertwined in a promise of resilience and love. The road ahead was unpredictable, but as long as they had each other, they were unstoppable. They were ready to conquer it all, hand in hand.